We have here a 2 versus 7 matchup. The number 2 team is Edward Drew, Chuck Pierce, and Tarek Patel. Our names are, we're going to switch those names. Those are on the other players here.
And in the top 8, remember, players do get access to deck list. That information unlikely to help Tarek.
No.
He's probably pretty confused about what's happening on this deck list. He's certainly played against Ixalan's Binding at least once, so this specific configuration, I'm sure this is something new. Probably had to look up Oracle text on some of these draft commons, like the Erasca Relics.
Looks like Tarek keeping a 6-card hand here. I don't know if his name is. Tarek is playing with Edgar and Matthew, so we'll get it there in a second.
Yeah, the bolded names are correct.
The point is that the team of Travis Lauro, Chuck Pierce, and Edward Drew, the team on the left has won all the die rolls. They are the 2 seed.
Good spot to be in. Not a significant factor in the standard match we're about to watch. This is going to be a slog.
There we go. All right. Now it just says Matthew Dilks twice. So Tarek starts off on a Plains. And tap land for Patel. So, yeah, and we saw this before. This mono-white approach deck, if you didn't get a chance to catch it 2 rounds earlier, we see Treasure Map, turn 2 from Travis. This is a deck of Plains, kill spells, and just some colorless card advantage. The card advantage are Treasure Maps, Arch of Erascas, and the Immortal Sun, and that's it.
I think that Travis Lauro is going to be a really big fan of the Brawl format, the standard commander variant.
So we see Treasure Map into Erasca Relic. He's going to start activating the Treasure Map this turn. If you haven't seen Erasca Relic, yeah, sometimes you play it in your draft. You try not to. It's not particularly good there either. 3 mana, it taps for 1 colorless. That's all it does for a while. If you have the City's Blessing, you can tap, sacrifice it to draw a card and gain 3. It eventually ramps him toward approach.
Yes, trying to get extra mana, gaining some life, a very small number of redraws. That's just what this deck does.
And Champion of Wits, the play for Tarek, and actually you see some of the difficulty of him in game 1. This will help. Discarding Magma Spray and Vraska's Contempt.
Yeah. Also, this champion very likely getting hit by a Baffling End.
We see for Travis End Step, activates Treasure Map, scries to the bottom, Upkeep does it again.
And for a lot of matchups, as you go through turn by turn, you talk about checks for certain things, different exchanges, just the way this match is going to go. Tarek's going to try to present some threat. Travis is going to have some mopey enchantment. He's going to exile it, and inevitably Travis is going to wear Tarek out.
So Travis makes a 2nd Treasure Map. And the transform is not a May, so, and once he finds Treasure Cove, he needs to be careful in managing 2 of them. Is Treasure Cove legendary? Whirler Virtuoso for Tarek. He's trying to stick a threat, wants to get some sort of clock down.
This is worth generally at least 2 bodies. You get the Virtuoso and at least the free Thopter here. Though Travis's deck, not only does he have these exiling effects, but he also builds up to Fumigate, which can cover any number of Thopters.
Keep in mind, most of the transform cards are legendary on the other side. Treasure Map is not.
Yeah, it's usually the case where they're legendary on the front and the back.
Yeah, okay, no, they don't switch.
Right.
And Upkeep, Travis will scry. He finds the first Treasure Cove, gains 3 treasures, and yeah, that gives him the City's Blessing as well. He's up to 11 permanents, can sacrifice Erasca Relic now.
Yep, just opened up a good amount of redraws.
It's surprising, Ryan, that like his deck does so much nothing that you can get away with this, you know?
Yeah, there's been a few different decks. I know there was a blue-white Eternalized deck that was making the rounds of Magic Online a few months ago, where the goal was just to Ixalan's Binding relevant things, exile some other things with, say, Cast Out, and then just inevitably win with some kind of mopey nonsense.
It's like, this is what happens when people stop playing mono red, is this stuff starts happening.
Travis gains a lot of life.
It's still a bad match. It's like no one's going to attack me for 3 turns. Oh, well, in that case, why don't I play Treasure Map and Thematic Compass?
He is definitely looking for the Grixis and blue-black pairings.
Yeah.
That is for sure.
Oh, you think Scarab God will be good enough? Well, I'm going to do a whole bunch of nothing.
I will exile that one, and you cannot cast it anymore.
Yeah. End step Thopter for Tarek gets Travis down to 17. Now he will make Liliana Death's Majesty. Now, Tarek does have some pretty easy ways to deal with permanents. They are all expensive. They're cards like Cast Out, Ixalan's Binding. But, you know, he's got time.
Yes. Yeah, there's fully 4 bindings and 4 cast outs. Those line up pretty well against Planeswalkers.
And in step, we're going to see a Cast Out on Liliana. Takes care of that.
Travis still has a good amount of life. Keep in mind that the Erasca Relic also represents just 3 more. Plenty of time to find a Fumigate.
Scries with his treasure map. Going to keep it on top. There is 5 power right now in play for Tarek, so Travis may want to clean this up. He does have a lot of sweepers, including a Fumigate already in hand. And, you know, he'll start getting these extra cards, things like Treasure Cove. Gets rid of the treasure and draws. Some interesting result, a little unexpected right on the legacy table. Matthew Dilks on lands on the draw takes game 1 over Mono Red Prison.
Yeah, lands does have fast combo draws, and sometimes the prison deck doesn't present that early Blood Moon.
It's not always turn on Blood Moon?
Yeah.
It is.
You want it to be.
As a reminder, 6 p.m.
Here's a Fumigate from Travis. He'll clean up the board, go back to 20.
And you're going to see a lot of this.
Yeah,
Yellow paper, please.
this deck deals with threats well. It is glacial, but man.
Oh, yeah, it's not... Travis didn't come here to close games. He came here to play games.
Yeah.
And the way he plays games is by letting you commit your game actions and then telling you why they don't matter.
And I think, and this is a card which actually really did a number on him the last time we had them on. It's a one of the 2 main deck copies of Tarek's Arguel's Bloodfast.
Pretty big fundamental difference in this matchup than that one is previously Travis was playing against a bunch of life-linking creatures that Andrew Main was playing along with the Bloodfast.
Right.
Tarek is only going to get so many activations. I know it sounds like nonsense. He only gets
8?
9 extra
8,
cards,
yeah.
you know, but Travis has a lot of redraws and a lot of things that permanently deal with the threats from Tarek.
Lauro back up over 20 thanks to that Erasca Relic.
Tarek also just had some duds in the main deck, as we saw things like the removal spells, Harness Lightning, Braid.
Treasure Cove gets him another land, and now you see land 7. Hey, 2 copies of Approach in Travis's hand. He'll cast the first one. Doesn't care if it resolves or not. He'll go to 30.
Tarek's not going to have much in the way of interaction with this. There's 2 main deck copies of Commit to Memory, and I guess that's something.
Oh, there's not even a negate, is there?
No.
So next turn's going to be a tough one.
Yes.
There's another Approach in Travis's hand.
That's rough. Yeah, Commit is not really a very good permanent solution.
No. No, he'll just keep doing this. And this, Tarek draws the Commit.
Okay.
All right.
So he knows about the one approach, the one that just went below the top 6. Is he going to do something more proactive, though, to tap him off of the Commit here? You do have deck lists. You know that Travis is on 2 more copies of Approach, but, you know, we'll find out. Tarek's going to start with the Champion of Wits. We can filter through some of these garbage cards. Essence Scatter being discarded, Harness Lightning as well. That all makes sense. Those just don't play here. Ether Hub, 4th untapped mana source, 7th land for Tarek. Represents the Commit here. Though
Travis is at 30.
he can commit, and then he can flashback memory, and you hope that one of those 7 cards is one of the 3 approaches.
Oh, gosh.
And you're just not winning the game otherwise. He doesn't have a battlefield presence.
Yeah.
Travis is at 30 somehow? Whatever.
This is one of those things that's just on the deck red sheet. Tarek's really far behind.
Yeah,
Here's 7 mana. Hey, it's another Approach. Does this one win?
Would you like to place this second from the top?
I have this treasure map. I will scry it to the top and do it again next turn.
Or use Treasure Cove just to draw into it if he wants the other card too.
So actually if Tarek, yeah, he could just scry and draw it out immediately. Great. An attack from Champion. Travis will go to 28.
Tarek's pretty much priced into using memory. Unless he has another
Yeah.
commit. It's like memory, cross your fingers, and it's almost assuredly not good enough.
Here's Glintleaf Siphoner, 6 more mana. Probably memory's playing out his whole hand so that he can do such a thing.
Yeah. The hope is that Travis draws 7 lands, and then the next 10 cards in his deck are just more lands.
In the modern table, Chuck Pierce with Ad Nauseam takes game 1 over Edgar Magalhaes.
No big surprise there.
Now, Edgar will improve after sideboard in this matchup. Ad Nauseam doesn't really have anything for it.
Yeah.
Edgar has some spell pierces. Here's Memory from Patel. Players will shuffle graveyards in and draw 7s. Now, Tark's just hoping that none of these 7s are one of Travis's 3 copies. And also Travis will get to scry and step with Treasure Map, draw with Treasure Cove, untap, draw 2 more with Treasure Cove, and any of these, if they find an approach, he wins.
And if it's not approach, Travis has to somehow navigate this game from 28 life, multiple redraws, and 7 cards in hand. This hand has to be just disgustingly bad with more garbage on the way.
Yes.
This is almost like covering Lantern.
I didn't see an approach immediately. Might still be looking for one.
Hooray!
Just an Arch of Orazka that he'll start using immediately. A Scry, that's to the bottom. It's probably not approach. Transforms into Treasure Cove. Can draw a card too. Got still has now 4 treasures. Plenty more treasures in this cove.
Definitely no need for the mana.
So he'll get a point where we'll have 3 lands. Once this arch is made, he'll have 3 different lands that tap to draw a card.
Not bad.
Okay. Yeah, he said, here's the 4th treasure, and now I'm eating one of them.
Yeah, Patel has to work for extra cards. He has to pay a bunch of mana, life. Travis is just
Tapping
producing
lands.
extra lands that also just draw cards.
And there
There's
we
an
go.
approach in
There
the
we go.
hand.
He did. Here it comes again. And Travis Lauro, game 1.
Yep.
Ooh, Ryan, this was
Get ready for more of that.
this was a beatdown.
It was not a beatdown. In fact, it was
This
kind
was-
of the opposite.
This was not. How about this? This was not close.
Hey, I'll agree with that.
All right, we're gonna look at some of the sideboard options when we come back. So back here, Tarek Patel. What just happened there, and what can we do about it? 2 Abrade, 2 Chandra's Defeat, 2 Duress, 2 Fiery Cannonade, 2 Negate, a 3rd Arguel's Bloodfast, a Chandra Torch of Defiance, a Glyph Keeper, an Hour of Devastation, and a River's Rebuke. There's some real good ones and some real bad ones here.
Yeah, so the 2 Duress and the 2 Negate, they make a lot of sense.
Love it.
Yeah, you want to cover some of this nonsense, make sure you don't just lose when approach shows up.
Yeah.
Chandra Torch of Defiance, a little more selective in how you deal with it. Some card advantage, that one's reasonable.
Hey, Ryan, Abrade's pretty great, right? Artifacts.
It destroys treasure map.
Destroys Thematic Compass. Destroys a Razka Relic.
Ooh, get that relic out of there.
I don't know. I mean, it does something.
It's better than Harness Lightning.
Yeah.
And don't mind a Glyph Keeper.
Yeah, is it that Glyph Keeper's good, or is that we have not exhausted the list of cards that are horrible?
I don't mind a Glyph Keeper.
Like, yeah, it wasn't done. How about these Vraska's Contempts? How are those? How about these Magma Sprays? How about... those could all leave.
A lot of garbage.
A lot of garbage. Travis's sideboard is singularly addressing the decks that it doesn't beat already. I don't know that he will play any of these cards.
Yeah, the Vanguard strategy is pretty intriguing face down when you don't have deck lists.
Yeah.
There's just no way that Patel can respect that anyway, but it's just kind of worse than the general game plan, I think.
The idea is that if you get Patel to actually board out all his Magma Sprays, then this is going to work, just by adding 4 Vanguards to your deck. I'm not sure I totally get it.
Yeah, it's really light, a little surprising to me. This plan works out. It's very light sideboarding, you know. It's hard to actually execute a beatdown, and particularly in this matchup, Patel's going to have access to Whirler Virtuoso, which is actually a really bad heads-up matchup for Vanguard. You just have to jam into the Thopter tokens and then pay 4 life per Thopter.
Well, Travis ended the game at 30, so what's the problem?
That's a good point. A lot of
4 life per Thopter? Yeah, I'm in.
Got a lot of life to give, but yeah, those probably not coming in here. They're going to make more sense against a blue-black.
And then we determined the Mavern Fane was his commander.
Yes, that one's going to start the game.
That's why it's not in the main deck.
In the command zone.
Lauro, his teammates split the game ones, so right now, up is all. Everybody goes into sideboarding.
Hard to say exactly what's happening in Legacy based on how long the game is going. Things do change post-sideboard when you have Blood Moon versus Krosan Grip.
By winning game 1, Matthew has a pretty good shot at pulling off the upset here.
Yeah.
But as we kind of mentioned, all 3 matchups are tough for that team.
Yes.
So they're in need. He's going to, and based on what I saw game 1, I'm going to need Magalhaes to do something here. Maybe. Well, let's see what happens.
Yes.
So we are underway. First play, turn 2 from Tarek is going to be Glint Sleeve Siphoner. There's no Aether Hub, so we're a turn away from it drawing cards, and it doesn't matter anyway. Oh, it does. It's to say, I was going to say there would be a baffling end. That is a treasure map again for Travis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Patel might be able to draw some extra cards.
Yeah. Swings, puts Travis down to 18, gets that second energy. You see, it's...
Ooh, got him. A braid.
Yeah.
Braid your map.
Yeah, braid the map in Dragon Skull Summit.
Travis, pretty heavy on maps, though. There's a Thopter Arrest.
All right. Just an Oblivion Ring, basically. Going to take care of that creature. No extra card for Tarek.
Siphoner suddenly under arrest.
Duress. Tarek's just going to try to get all the hands to trade away. We see Treasure Map, Ixalan's Binding, Cast Out, Fumigate.
How do you address this hand? This is extremely redundant.
You take all the... Treasure Map's the card that beats you, right?
It's either one of the treasure maps or the Ixalan's Binding.
Yeah.
Because Binding can really tie your hands when it comes to closing the game.
Well, Tarek does have a negate in his hand and the mana up for it, so he can do some long-term planning here.
We can take a treasure map and negate the other one.
That's the nicest one, you think?
It's an intriguing line. You do want to make sure you have a plan for the binding. The issue, the deck is flush with bindings. Right now, Travis is looking for land, so dealing with both the maps makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and he'll pass, leaves up that counter spell. There is a land. It's a
Field of Ruin.
Field of Ruin treasure map. That quick negate from Patel. So no card advantage yet. Now we're playing pretty fair. 3 removal spells on Travis' side. Tarek's side, he has a Gear Hulk and one other. Draws a Bloodfest. Huge draw if that's
Yes.
it.
Very solid pickup.
This is best card he could get. Yeah, Arguel's Bloodfast. Now, Travis does have that card covered.
Yeah.
So Chalk will get 1 extra card out of it, but that's still a 2 for 1. Draws Dragon Skull Summit. Now, is not actually to Gearhulk. He has 5 lands, but doesn't have the second blue just yet.
Or the 6th land, you know.
Yeah.
He needs that to be a blue source.
Cast out on the Bloodfast.
Ugh. Draw
Swamp.
Gross.
Passes. Land on the way back from Travis. How exciting.
A lot of action. Ooh. The fourth treasure map.
That's a really good draw.
Patel's like, excuse me, can I see your graveyard?
All right, well, there's the blue source, but it enters the battlefield tapped, and now we start searching for that cove. Scries to the bottom. No upkeep. He's going to just straight draw.
His draws are like pretty interchangeable right now. Mostly just cares about converting the map. Lands and spells are kind of all good.
2-0 Matthew Dilks wins the match in Legacy. So Travis, one of his teammates is down. It means that if either Magalhaes or Patel can rally, that'll send them to the semifinals.
Yeah, the Gearhulk is now online.
Yeah.
Set up with a negate to cover something. Patel would prefer to be in a situation where he could use that to use some kind of draw spell proactively.
If he just keeps waiting on something to negate, that's a lot of damage he's not dealing.
Yeah, it's damage he's not dealing. You know, also, if it's just negating and you're not doing any redrawing or filtering your draws, Travis won't have a difficult time answering the Gearhulk.
Scries to the bottom with treasure map for Travis. And upkeep, he'll scry again. Let's put it up to 3. Well, we have
transform and scry to the top.
first complete team match here. Collins Mullen on humans beat Matt Hoey in about 10 minutes. And then Matt Hoey's teammates, Bernal and Tenjum, both playing Grixis, won both matches. The team of Joe Bernal, Matt Hoey, and Andrew Tenjum moves on to the semifinals, where they are awaiting the winner of this match.
Leading everyone to wonder, what year is it? So now we have the transformed Treasure Cove, and Patel still up to nothing. Declines to Gearhulk for no value.
Yeah.
That makes sense. He's seen the Fumigate.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, this is kind of fancy. River's Rebuke, this is going to deal with those tokens, so the Treasure Cove loses some value.
Look at that. The cove was empty. So it had already been looted.
It's kind of like making Travis discard 3 cards.
And the way the pace of this game is going, I think so.
Gets another activation off the Bloodfast, which is pretty good.
And he's gonna get he might get something off the Siphoner, probably not.
Probably not that one.
Well, speaking of the comebacks we're looking for, Edgar Magalhaes wins game number 2. If he can win the last post-board game against Ad Nauseam, he'll send his team to the semis. Tarek won't have to finish this comeback.
And Travis floated mana with those treasure tokens, well, cracked them, so he's hanging out, and he can use those to cast the cast out. First, I thought he was cycling it. I thought that's very strange. But it's back on the Bloodfast.
Walking Ballista. Ooh, does that on 3 and
is a powerful answer to Glintsleeve
yeah.
Siphoner.
Gets to keep it around with 2 counters. Takes care of the 2-1. Nice play by Travis. 5 cards in hand. Most of them are probably just 4 mana kill spells. Maybe 5 mana sweepers.
Yep.
They remove things. They're good.
One of the cards that do the 3 things that Travis deck does.
The other things, Field of Ruin and Scavenger Ground, both in play for Travis. So those are these. And he has Treasure Cove, though that one's not really doing anything anymore.
And all the treasure maps that aren't Treasure Cove are already in the graveyard.
So Tarek, the hard part in this matchup is creating pressure. All this stuff gets answered.
It's so easy for Travis to answer your creatures, and many of them attack for very little damage.
Yeah, I mean, he can draw more, for Tarek to draw more cards. That's not too bad. Bloodfasts, champions, virtuosos. There's a lot of value. It just doesn't. Nothing comes of it.
And he's known about Fumigate for the entire game.
Right.
He's got to get through that to actually get on the battlefield in any meaningful way.
And now the Ballista's down on Travis's side, Tarek has to do something. We'll see Torrential Gearhulk. Targeting, looks like a Braid. That'll shoot down the Ballista. Fair enough. Not the best Gearhulk you can see, but Tarek thought about it for a while and said it's good enough.
Yeah, it unlocks the lower power creatures in the hand that just line up terribly against Ballista.
7th land for Lauro. Is it time for an approach?
I'm honestly not sure how much of the approaches are in post sideboard.
Okay.
As you know that a bunch of dresses, negates, what have you, are coming in. We've seen
Travis
play some of the sideboard cards. There's Walking Ballista. I believe he's picked up a Regal Caracal.
So Ixalan's Binding takes care of the Gearhulk. End step Tarek cycles a land. Champion of Wits from Tarek. Draw 2, discard 2. Well, how about a Torrential Gearhulk? Can get rid of that one.
Yeah, can't cast that card anymore.
He has picked up some other good threats. Liliana Death's Majesty available. Whirler Virtuoso, another Whirler Virtuoso.
Yeah, Liliana, one of the better draws. He is still navigating around that known Fumigate.
Right.
Also, that's an avenue. If you have something you want to Gearhulk back at sorcery speed, you can use the Liliana to put one onto the battlefield where you can't cast it.
And here we have Liliana's Death Majesty. Pluses, makes a zombie and mills for 1.
Attention players, the concession
2.
stands will be closing in 15 minutes. So if you want to step out.
Back over to Travis we go. Yeah, you're right. Regal Caracal has been picked up.
Now is the time to do so. Once again, the concession stand will be closing.
Tapping 4 looks like one of those enchantments for Liliana.
Ixalan's Binding, yep, that'll take care of Liliana. There's a full 4 copies of that in the deck. Now, there's only one Liliana, so the second mode on Binding isn't going to matter much here.
Yeah, the matter is just that he's short on things that just deal with the Planeswalker.
Yeah. Well, there is also, Ryan, another Ixalan's Binding in Travis's hand, so he can bind away the champion, and that's a really strong play.
I think he's just waiting on the Scarab God when we get to this point. You do want to get a Scarab God under Binding.
You got a 4th one. It's all
easy.
Right?
Forget about it.
You'd hate to see that be negated or duressed. You are right.
Once you start binding a lot of the relevant cards, already having binding on Gearhulk is a huge win for Travis. It makes it so that you don't really care as much about Patel's redraws because some of the best ones are just turned off.
We certainly don't want to fumigate with the champion in play. You don't want to see that get eternalized. An exiling removal would be nice.
The concern would be if you get a setup where Patel deploys the Scarab God and you try to bind it, he's just ready with the negate.
Well, actually, I guess you can scavenger ground here. So you can fumigate, which he'll do, and I suppose just exile the graveyard.
Yeah, that's pretty clean.
Can he wait until activating and blow out scavenger?
Exile is part of the cost that makes a token.
If he wants to do that, he needs to do that now, and he will. Tarek's graveyard's gone. Back over to Patel. Does have a Scarab God in hand and a champion.
Travis kind of rooting for
Scarab God?
the Scarab God to show up.
Yeah. Just wants to get that under Ixalan's Binding.
I would love to bind your god. It would be ideal if you could cast none of your best spells for the duration of the game. This is such a tough game to navigate.
Yeah.
The more things get put into the binding, the fact that you know that the mono white approach deck is just flush with these exiling hard answers. You can't really deal with any of that.
So there is a pause here, Ryan, and he may not have to navigate at all because I believe Edgar Magalhaes just won the Modern match.
Well then.
So that's going to do it. Target, big thanks to his teammates there for the assist, getting him out of this.
Yeah, Travis probably not thrilled about that result.
The Ixalan's bindings, honestly, Ryan, reminded me, if you go back to like 2010 or 2007, when like people in control mirrors would just play cranial extraction, and it wasn't like, oh, like what's their combo piece you're getting? You're like, no, I'd get their things.